Custody of a child has become a very sensitive and difficult case to process. There are many factors to consider, but more so if the child is illegitimate and under the care of the mother or the mother's relatives and not the father, similar to what John has experienced.
Meron po ako naging partner dito sa Pilipinas. May plano ang partner ko na pumunta ng Italy. Nung nandun na sa Italy, nagtatawagan pa kaming dalawa. Ang nangyari, after 9 months niya doon, nalaman ko na buntis na pala siya. So, nagkaroon kami ng anak. Ang plano niya sa anak namin ay iuwi dito sa Pilipinas. Nung umuwi sa dito sa Pilipinas, ang kumukup ko pa ang aking dapat magiging biyenan. Sa nag-aalaga mula bata hanggang ngayon. Pinupuntahan ko sa every weekend. Nakita ko ang birth certificate niya. Nakapangalan sa nanay. Pero ang tatay, blanco. Muli akong may nakitang baptismal naman. Ang nakalagay doon ay yung pangalan kong, pero sa dulo ng pangalan ko ay may nagkaroon ng problema. Imbis na letter D, ginawang CH. Gusto kong mangyari, kunin na talaga yung anak ko. Gusto ko sa pagkatao ko, gusto ko maging magulang eh. Nag-iisang anak ko yun eh. Masakit para sa akin dahil tinanggalan nila ang karapatan. Kaya ko naman buhayin ang anak ko, may trabaho ako. Sapat na yun para buhayin. Kaya humingi ako sa inyo ng tulong. Paano po ba ang gagawin ko para makuha ko yung anak ko, yung karapatan ko? Gusto ko makuha ang anak ko, pero sa paanong paraan?
What does the law say on who should have custody over children? When it comes to illegitimate children, does the mother automatically have custody over the child? What special circumstances or factors does the court consider when granting child custody? Good evening, I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and you are watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News channel. This show is about making the law work for you by giving legal advice on topics that matter to you.
And I'm Attorney Rod Nepomuceno. Tonight, we will discuss your legal rights on the issue of child custody, what you need to know about your rights as a parent or guardian, and what you need to do to assert your parental authority over your children.
Our guest for tonight is Attorney DJ Jimenez. He's a professor and practitioner of the Jimenez Law Offices, and he also teaches at the University of Santo Tomas. Good evening, Attorney DJ.
Good evening, Ms. Karen. Good
Attorney
evening.
DJ, good evening. A very sensitive
let's start
topic,
with the
no?
case
Yes.
agad.
Emotional
Sobrang
topic.
naawa dun
Yeah,
sa
yeah.
case study natin today because
Absolutely,
you can really sense the sincerity
Yes.
in his voice na he really wants to take care of his child. But in this case, it looks like it's an illegitimate child, but he seems to acknowledge that it's his child, diba? So but although wala sa birth certificate, anong classification ng bata?
Ang mag-govern kasi dito is the family code. And under the family code, if a child is illegitimate, the parental authority is to be exercised by the mother, especially if the child is under 7 years of age.
May difference ba if you have an illegitimate child, but some birth certificates, in his case, in the case of John, hindi man lang siya linagay sa birth certificate as the father. But some birth certificates write the name of the father. Kahit ba ilagay yon ng mother doon, if the child is illegitimate, the custody, the parental authority still goes to the mother?
Yes, that is why this should be best addressed to Congress. Because the law is very clear. If the child is illegitimate, the parental authority should be with the mother.
Is that exclusive though? Is it the exclusive authority? And in this case, yung case study natin, he cannot exercise any kind of authority and thus not have any custody for the child?
We must take into account that when you talk of custody, it is actually attached to the matter of parental authority. Yes. So unless the parental authority is taken away from the mother, then no choice but whoever has the parental authority will also have the custody.
But in this case, it was kind of an assigned parental authority. The one who had the child really was the would-be Vienna, the mother-in-law, the would-be mother-in-law. Nasa Italy yung
girlfriend.
So in this case, would there be?
There is a similar case. And in that similar case, the mother went to Japan,
abroad. Okay.
went abroad, and gave the custody to her parents. And sabi ng Supreme Court, I think that's the Briones case, ano? In the absence of any disqualification on the parental authority, you cannot divest the mother of that custody.
Okay.
Going abroad for work is not one of the grounds. There are limited grounds. No?
Can you give examples?
If the mother is involved in drugs, if there is abandonment, and obviously, if the mother is working abroad,
hindi siya abandoned.
Hindi siya abandoned.
What about pag merong boyfriend na iba? Yung
well,
mother?
there is the immorality is a consideration, but you still have to prove it. That is a very it's easy to say, but you have to prove in court.
So in this case, anong options ni John
Ang
in order
options
to
niya
at least share yung?
Well, ang options niya is to invoke yung kanyang visitation rights. But first things first, kailangan siguro ma-acknowledge na siya yung father.
How can he do that?
Well, he will have to go to court and seek paternity and filiation of the child.
Which is something na i-order ng court na malagay sa birth certificate?
Well, i-determine kung talagang siya yung ama.
Yes.
So is this a special proceeding that he has to go through?
Yes, it's family court will have to...
Family court, yeah.
And if it is shown na he is the natural father and he is willing to support the child, then papasok na ngayon yung right naman niya to exercise visitation rights.
So, uunahin niya muna yung to be acknowledged, and then he can again file another, is it another case in court?
And the same proceedings, I think.
Okay, that he can ask for regular visitation rights.
Yes.
Yeah. What specific special proceeding does he apply for?
He can petition for affiliation and paternity.
Paternity, that's the first one.
And
then
then
Or
after
voluntary acknowledgement that he is voluntarily acknowledging the child as his.
He can do
And
that,
then support, willing to provide support.
and have the necessary annotation or
Eventually, the
changes in
yes.
the birth certificate.
Yeah, and I think it matters to him na makakuha rin ng visitation rights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yung matter of i-include mo yung pangalan niya sa birth certificate, there is a law and the law requires the consent of the mother.
Now, in this case, we know the answer, but the baptismal certificate included him, but pero naka-wrong spelling. Is that evidentiary?
Well, it's a
prove?
question of fact.
Yeah.
Maybe that is one of the pieces of evidence he will have to adduce. Saying na ako nga yung tatay niya.
As shown by
But yung matter na gagamitin ng bata yung apelyido niya,
the default is the mother's surname,
yes.
di ba?
Yes.
But there's an option to use the father's surname kung illegitimate child pag acknowledged.
Yes,
ng
and
dad.
upon the agreement of the mother, because the mother exercises parental authority, sole maternal parental authority.
Okay, I hope we were able to answer some questions of John, no?
Yeah.
Now let's answer some questions from our viewers. Our first question is from Twitter, and Penelope asks, at what age can a child determine which parent he wants to be with when the parents are separated? What factors do the courts consider when determining who should take custody of a child?
Well, ordinarily, yung custody ng child when the parents are separated is directed by the court. And the court will have to consider factors which in the end, what is best for the child?
Yes.
What
Penelope
is best for the well-being of the child?
Mentioning age. I think, di ba sa law, basta below 7 years old,
Cannot
the presumption is
Presumption.
that the best interest of the child is to be with the mother. But it's only a presumption, meaning
Can be
pwedeng
overturned,
i-prove na mas okay to be with the father.
Yeah.
But at what age does the court allow the child to determine kung kanino siya sasama?
Well, conversely, if the child reaches 7, the choice of the child is taken into account.
Come into play.
But the ultimate criteria that the court will have to consider is the interest of the child. Even if the child chooses the father. But if under the circumstances,
Kunwari yung father.
mother ang better.
And this will be determined not just by the judge, but
It's always a factual
fact.
issue that will have to be resolved in court.
Yes. Now that we're talking about factual issues and you've practiced, of course, family law, paano kung dalawa yung mga parehong may fault? Kunwari, you have a mother who merong grounds ng immorality kasi meron siyang kinakasamang ibang lalaki or meron siyang boyfriend even if she's not yet annulled. Tapos the father naman is known to be an alcoholic. How does the court then weigh these factors to determine
Can
kanino dapat
can they both
mapupunta?
lose? Meaning,
Yeah.
Well,
can
again, there's no hard and fast rule on this. But to my mind, and siguro suggestion na rin sa mga parents, let's not include the children. Ang away ng nanay at tatay o mag-asawa, iaway nila, hindi kasama yung mga bata.
Yeah.
So, ang best formula dyan is they agree on shared custody. And
Okay.
they ask the court to approve. Importante yung court
And-
approval. Importante.
Yes.
Why? In one case, walang court imprimatur yung agreement nila and the child was less than 7 years of age. So, the mother effectively waived yung kanyang maternal custodial right dun sa bata. Later on, she questioned it. And the Supreme Court said that yung waiver ng nanay
Was
invalid.
was void.
Was void, yeah.
Oo.
Yeah,
So
because-
meaning binalik
yeah.
sa kanya yung custody kahit na
Hindi
ginive
lang
up
sa
niya na
binalik
before.
kasi overtaken by events na sa kanya naman din yung bata. Hindi siya na-forced na i-relinquish.
Thus, you cannot enter into agreement where you're waiving effectively your parental authority.
Right. Except, of course, it's a gray area. Ang importante may court approval. Because the court, using its not just facilities, expertise, but the court can even order a psychiatrist or child psychologist to
determine,
evaluate the
yeah.
child or the social worker
Social worker,
to make
yeah.
a child custody study.
Right.
So they will take into account all of those.
Okay.
A confluence of all those factors will make
come
the
into
court
play.
the right
Right.
decision.
All right, great. Our next question naman comes from Paulo via Facebook. I'm separated from my wife for more than a year now because she had an affair with another man, and she was also taking drugs. Now, up to now, she's still using drugs. I want to have sole custody of my 2 children aged 9 and 6 because she is not providing them a safe environment. Can this be a valid reason for me to have full custody of my children? Yeah, we were answering
Well,
that.
if he can prove that, I
Na-
submit that
na may relationship, na
yes,
gumagamit
yung
ng drugs.
immorality and yung
Drug use.
drug use can be a valid reason to get the full custody of the child.
Okay, so even here, one of the children is 6, meaning below 7. So that is still a ground for depriving the mother of custody, no? Considering kung unfit
Kung
siya.
unfit,
Okay. Our next question is from Norris, and he's asking us, if both parents are not suitable to care for a child, who then can have custody of them? Ito na yung parang tinatanong mo rin kanina, Rod, no? What
Yeah.
if both are disqualified? In a
Well,
sense, you know?
Then,
na-
again, by analogy, considering that custody is tied with parental authority, we can apply the provisions under the Civil Code on substitute parental authority, in which case, by order, the parental grandparents, in the absence, the maternal grandparents, and
So may mga
mothers-
orders
so
of priority.
nauna
Yes.
yung grandparents ng father? Is it paternal?
Yes, because remember when the Civil Code was promulgated in the 1950s. But yung society natin, hindi matriarchal.
Yes.
So,
ibig
kaya
sabihin-
it's always
That's
the
why-
father.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's weird because
They
family
have to
code
amend.
came after 1987. So,
Right.
imagine, kunwari, kahit illegitimate yung child, if both parents are not qualified, even if the child is below 7, then you have the grandparents of the
father.
on the father's
Of the
side
father, yeah.
getting custody of the child
Yeah.
ahead of the
Yeah, it's
maternal grandparents.
Quite interesting, no?
Yeah.
But anyway, well, I guess we can question the framers of the family.
Hindi, ano naman yan, that's only a general
Yeah,
rule.
I'm
It-
sure the
All
court
things
can
being equal, ganun. But, you have to look at the actual situation.
Right.
And in one case, yung kinikwento ko nga po kanina, the child told the court, if you take me away from my grandparents, I would commit suicide.
So
they
they gave
consider
the-
that.
And if the court finds that declaration from the child as indeed real and sincere, then
might consider that,
his
no?
best interest would require him to just
with the
stay
grandparents.
with the grandparents.
Okay, we have another question naman from Facebook. Rami is asking, I intend to leave my husband of 20 years because he left our family for another woman. He has an OFW and is earning a lot abroad. What do I need to do in order to get child support from him? So, iba yung custody, iba yung support.
support.
Diba? But
Oo.
it's kind of tied
But
in.
it seems
Yes.
here na nasa kanya yung custody
Yeah.
ng mga bata because
Yes.
they both go to school.
Yeah, so she's asking, she seems to have the custody, but now she's asking for support. No? So-
Well, first things first, support is never permanent. Support will depend on the need of the child to be supported and the capacity of the person supporting. Now, the immediate legal remedy I see here would be to seek a provisional order from the court. Kasi family courts are authorized to issue provisional orders. And the court can even require the agency or
yung kung meron siyang, if he's
kung
affiliated
nagre-remit
with
siya,
an agency here, tapos nire-remit niya yung sweldo
to
niya.
remit the portions of his salary directly to the child.
And I'd just like to clarify, when you said provisional order, this means na kahit hindi pa tapos yung buong kaso, she can already get support for the two kids.
Yung tinatawag nating support pendente lite or pending litigation.
But the problem is kung nasa abroad tapos hindi affiliated with with an agency in the Philippines, the court cannot enforce that order in a foreign office or foreign corporation.
Technically, you can seek enforcement of a foreign judgment in that country, but it doesn't really make sense because you're in the Philippines.
But at least you can try.
And precisely, you're asking for support. You don't have money. How can you travel abroad?
But in this case, just because you were granted, custody, doesn't mean that you. All the expenses are yours. You can definitely ask for ask for support from the other.
Yes, and repeating what I said earlier, there are many criteria to consider: the need, the capacity. That's why support is never permanent.
So if he's earning more than the wife, then maybe she can get more support for the tuition fees and support. Okay, let's take a short break. Legal Help Desk will return after these reminders. You're still watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News Channel, and we are still joined by our guest, Attorney DJ Jimenez. Thank you, Attorney DJ.
For DJ. Now, with regards to parental authority, which of course is kind of the basis, or it's tied in with custody, as you mentioned. A lot of people, like our case study, would do anything to fight for that right to have that authority, the right to have parental authority. But there's some people who might consider this as, well, it's a right, and therefore I can waive it. Can you waive your parental authority?
Lalo na kasi kung nag-remarry yung mother, di ba?
Yeah, and then
and you're the real father.
Yeah.
So, anong mga cases yun?
Technically, this is a right that really cannot be waived.
Cannot be waived.
So, unless nga the court will disqualify you. Now, in the end, if there will be some modifications in the arrangement, all you need to do is to seek court approval. So, I think that would be the safest thing.
So it's safe to say that it's not just it's not just a right; it's an obligation. It's an obligation.
It's both a right and an obligation.
And you're required. Okay.
Also, because may mga kadikit siya sa laws natin na if you're the parent having custody of the child, pag nakasakit or naka-aksidente, for instance, yung child mo, you have normally primary liability to pay for that damage or that injury if you have the custody of the child.
Now, we've also tackled before the issue, Karen, of adoption. In cases, are there situations wherein, of course, the parental authority, default, yung biological parents. But of course, there are cases where magkakaroon ng adoption process even when the biological parents are still alive.
Oh, yes.
In that scenario, whenever there's formal adoption already, full parental authority already transfers to
the adopter will acquire the rights of a legitimate parent.
Meaning mawawalan ka na ng custody.
Totally mawawalan na. So, and therefore, you can't be asked.
That is the necessary consequence. And of course, may court approval pa rin yan.
Okay, now we have another question. It's from Thomas. I've been working abroad for 6 years as an engineer and only recently learned that I have a daughter with my ex-girlfriend. My daughter is now 2 years old. I want to spend time with her, but the mother won't let me go near her. What are my rights as a father? Shouldn't I be given some visitation rights or something to that effect? So this is good because we have a male lawyer. Oh, this is a father asking, anong pwede niyang gawin?
Siguro each and every mother especially should understand that, you don't dominate your right over your child. A child needs both a mother and a father. So if
It
they
seems
can
here
just
kasi-
talk about it,
it seems that the mother does not want the father to be involved. Kasi 2 years old na yung bata by the time the father found out that this is his child.
well, that's why mother should be, well, not to sound sexist, but a parent should be made to understand that, for the love of your child, you should at least isolate your hatred towards your partner and let the child know na meron siyang ama, lalo na o may ina na willing naman.
So, what can Thomas
Yeah, what can
file?
Tho-
He
yeah.
can go
Compel.
to, again, he can go to court and invoke his visitation rights along with his declaration to acknowledge his daughter.
Does he have to have proof of affiliation first, or in this case, the
Kasama
mother-
na yun. I
okay.
would
Yeah.
say na
Uunahin
kasama
niya
na.
ata
In
yung
fact, he
proof,
can
no?
equally ask for a provisional remedy or a provisional order, which is bisitahin. But in the end, ako, kawawa ang mga batang na drag sa korte. I mean, it is very traumatic. So
Yeah.
if the parents can just learn to isolate, wag na nilang isama. If they can agree and then pa-aproban na lang sa court yung whatever custody arrangement, that is for
Okay.
the best interest.
That's a good option,
Yeah.
no? Mag-agree muna and then have it approved by the court para hindi na kailangan pumunta sa court ng bata.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kasi, well, we all know about this celebrity case, no? Celebrity and this very famous athlete. Now, there's always this question on visitation rights. Kasi minsan the custody is already determined by the court. And in this case, I think it has already been determined.
Nagbo-blind item pa si Attorney Roque.
We all
A
know-
celebrity and a famous athlete.
Sino yun?
Yeah, which is we'll try to figure it out. But really, in this case, my question is there a maximum or minimum visitation rights?
Yung
That,
hours,
parang,
how many times
like
a week?
a guide by that the court follows? And,
There is no hard and fast rule. However, when you talk of visitation rights, this is not just a 1-hour visit. You should give the child the chance to bond with the father or the mother, as the case may be. So, court should be more liberal on this. And siguro the best person to be able to determine this would be a child psychologist, because especially if the child has been away from the father or the mother for a long time, medyo gradual yung visitation rights until such time na ma-normalize.
But it's normal to grant the father, for instance, a visitation na buong weekend na sa kanya yung bata.
Oh yes, that is
That's not
usual.
unreasonable, no?
That is not unreasonable, because again, a child needs both parents.
Right.
Not just the mother, not just the father, regardless of whatever issues are between them.
Absolutely. All right. We have a question naman from Facebook, and that is asking us, I have a 13-year-old son from a previous marriage. My ex-wife has remarried, and her new husband has adopted my son as his own. I'm working here in the US, but I would still like to have a relationship with my son. Do I still have a right as his biological father?
Well, morally, yes, I think. No? But of course, legally, since
in-adopt
Wala
siya.
na yung parental authority.
the child was adopted, wala na. But I mean, morally, there is Facebook and Skype and Viber. He can communicate.
Yes.
The guy is the
13
child is
na.
13. So,
Yeah.
you don't need a legal remedy for that.
But the other question would be, in the first place, he could not have, the son could not have been adopted without his consent, right?
Or
As the
probably-
biological father. Kasi ex-wife niya eh. So they had joint parental authority before. So for the child to be adopted, that would mean na pumayag siya, no?
Or baka siguro he was declared to have abandoned his child.
Nagkaroon ng declaration. Now,
Yes.
in the case of, you mentioned
Because
about-
abandonment, remember, is a ground to divest you.
divest.
Yeah.
parental
But
authority.
since he's already 13, kung ayaw talaga makipag-communicate sa kanya, wala sa
Effort.
mood na ano, then he can't really go to court and compel the child to spend time with him.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a good idea. It's not a legal problem.
Just to clarify, no, you mentioned earlier that of course the default is normally the mother, especially pag 7 and below, and then the father is the next. Then if absent both the paternal grandparents and then the maternal grandparents and then, the brothers and
and
sisters.
To my
sisters, yeah.
recollection.
Yeah, absent all of those, let's say walang mahanap. Where does custody go?
Foundling, considered as foundling yung bata as an abandoned child, in which case the DSWD can can take custody of the child.
And then put up for adoption and
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Now we still have time for our last question from Monica. I have a 6-month-old baby and I brought her with me to Singapore without the consent of the father, since we already ended our relationship. He now wants to see my child, but he does not know that we're here. Is it possible that he can sue me for this?
Did
ito naman.
she say that they are married? I didn't
I
get
don't
that.
think that she mentioned.
Yeah, he
Parang
mentioned.
sabi niya lang nasa kanya yung bata. But now they're in Singapore without the father knowing. So, ang question
Well,
would
there's
be-
no such thing as a parental kidnapping. If
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
Obviously,
so-
she has custody because sa immigration, hindi lumalampas ang mga bata na, especially if
Yeah.
you're, normally sa father hinahanap,
Yes.
di ba? Pagka, lalo na kung magkaiba yung apelido, hinahanap yung proof that you have the custody of the child. But in this case, sige, assuming na married sila dati, tapos hindi niya sinabi na dadalhin niya sa Singapore, can she be sued?
Well, not criminally. I mean, the father can invoke siguro yung kanyang right as a father, exercising joint parental authority. But again, enforcing it is another matter. You can definitely get
Writ of habeas corpus,
yes,
no?
to produce, to
produce.
compel the party to, but nasa abroad eh. So how can you enforce?
Yeah.
In cases like that, nagkakaroon ng parang actual physical taking of children, the other spouse, one spouse can't file a case of kidnapping from the other
Not
spouse.
kidnapping, but again, yun, they can ask the court
civil,
to
more of a civil.
Yeah,
writ
they
of
call it
habeas
writ of
corpus.
habeas
Yeah,
corpus
to produce the body.
to produce the child.
Right.
And then,
Child.
yung pagka naman illegitimate yung bata, then
It's
she really
all-
cannot be
It's absolute
sued.
maternal parental custody is
So
with
she
the mother.
she has a right to bring the child to Singapore, and then I guess the most that the father can do is ask for visitation rights.
Even
He has to go to
if the
Singapore.
father allowed his surname to be used, ibang matter yung custody dun sa use of surname.
So for everyone out there, kahit na dala-dala ng bata yung surname ng anak nyo, if the child is illegitimate, then if the mother has custody, you really cannot demand na nasa inyo dapat yung custody.
Mahirap pa nga if you allow yung surname, because if at some point you are not married and the relationship turns sour, you cannot ask the court to
just change the name.
remove the
Your
surname.
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 Courts will have to wait
I
until
think
the
that's
child
fair.
reaches.
Kasi kawawa naman yung bata. I mean, you already gave him your surname or him or her. Tapos dahil nag-away lang kayo ng mother, babawin mo yung surname mo, diba?
And in some cases, it's the concern of the mother. Walang suporta yung bata eh.
That's
So,
right.
paano gagawin ko niyan? But kaya lang, pumayag ka eh. So that's the
Right.
consequence.
It's a little tough.
So,
All right, we only have a few minutes left in the program. Maybe we can use this time to kind of give a wrap-up of what we've discussed so far for the benefit of our viewers. Yan. So Attorney DJ, just to
Yeah,
recap,
just briefly, who has rightful
who has rightful
custody
custody of
A child. Oo.
well, it depends. If the parents are married, both of them,
Both of them, yep.
should exercise joint
Equally,
parental
no?
authority,
Equally, yeah.
shared custody. If they are not married, it's the mother.
The mother, yeah, okay.
If they separate and the child is less than 7 years of age, it cannot be separated from the mother
Mother. Unless may
there
reasons.
are compelling reasons which will be determined by a court.
Right.
So it is the court, not the party, who will determine.
Okay.
And then, pag after above 7, then
Above 7, the child
can
the-
say kung sino yung preference
not
niya.
really can say, but the preference of the child can be taken into account. But again, the criteria to be considered would still be
Best
the best interest.
interest.
Meaning, kahit piliin pa nung child yung mother or father,
Yung well-being niya.
if the selection is not good for the child, meaning yung kunwari pinili niya yung father who's an alcoholic, then the court can really give custody to
Yeah.
someone
Yes,
else.
kasi pwedeng manipulated lang yung bata o itong sabihin mo sa
Yeah.
court.
So a lot
Ang
of
mga bata ngayon, napakadaling
again,
mamanipulate.
just like in almost all cases, it's really based on the evidence that's presented.
Yes, it's always a
Facts.
factual
thing.
issue.
All right. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today. We'd like to thank our guest, Attorney DJ Jimenez, for being with us tonight. I am Attorney Rod Nepomuceno.
And I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno. Join us again next Monday as we discuss your legal rights on the issue of shipping problems here on Legal Help Desk. Good night.
Custody of a child has become a very sensitive and difficult case to process. There are many factors to consider, but more so if the child is illegitimate and under the care of the mother or the mother's relatives and not the father, similar to what John has experienced.
Meron po ako naging partner dito sa Pilipinas. May plano ang partner ko na pumunta ng Italy. Nung nandun na sa Italy, nagtatawagan pa kaming dalawa.
And I'm Attorney Rod Nepomuceno. Tonight, we will discuss your legal rights on the issue of child custody, what you need to know about your rights as a parent or guardian, and what you need to do to assert your parental authority over your children.
Our guest for tonight is Attorney DJ Jimenez. He's a professor and practitioner of the Jimenez Law Offices, and he also teaches at the University of Santo Tomas. Good evening, Attorney DJ.
Good evening, Ms. Karen. Good
Attorney
evening.
DJ, good evening. A very sensitive
let's start
topic,
with the
no?
case
Yes.
agad.
Emotional
Sobrang ako
topic.
naawa dun sa
Yeah.
case study natin today because
Absolutely.
you can really sense the sincerity
Yes.
in his voice na he really wants to take care of his child. But in this case, it looks like it's an illegitimate child, but he seems to acknowledge that it's his child, diba? So but although wala sa birth certificate, anong classification ng bata?
Ang mag-govern kasi dito is the family code, and under the family
Gusto ko sa pagkatao ko, gusto ko maging magulang eh. Nag-iisang anak ko yun eh. Masakit para sa akin dahil tinanggalan nila akong karapatan. Kaya ko naman buhayin ang anak ko, may trabaho ako. Sapat na yun para buhayin. Kaya humingi ako sa inyo eh, ng tulong. Paano po ba ang gagawin ko para makuha ko yung anak ko, yung karapatan ko? Gusto ko makuha ang anak ko, pero sa paanong paraan?
What does the law say on who should have custody over children? When it comes to illegitimate children, does the mother automatically have custody over the child? What special circumstances or factors does the court consider when granting child custody?
Good evening, I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and you are watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News channel. This show is about making the law work for you by giving legal advice on topics that matter to you.
code, if a child is illegitimate, the parental authority is to be exercised by the mother, especially if the child is under 7 years of age.
May difference ba if you have an illegitimate child, but some birth certificates, in his case, in the case of John, hindi man lang siya linagay sa birth certificate as the father, but some birth certificates write the name of the father. Kahit ba ilagay yon ng mother doon, if the child is illegitimate, the custody, the parental authority still goes to the mother?
Yes, that is why this should be best addressed to Congress, because the law is very clear. If the child is illegitimate, the parental authority should be with the mother.
Is that exclusive though? Is it the exclusive authority? And in this case, yung case study natin, what he cannot exercise any kind of authority and thus not have any custody
Well,
for the child?
we must take into account that when you talk of custody, it is actually attached to the matter of parental authority.
Ang nangyari, after 9 months niya doon, nalaman ko na buntis na pala siya. So, nagkaroon kami ng anak. Ang plano niya sa anak namin ay iuwi dito sa Pilipinas. Nung umuwi dito sa Pilipinas, ang kumukup ko pa ang aking dapat magiging biyenan. Sa nag-aalaga mula bata hanggang ngayon. Pinupuntahan ko sa every weekend. Nakita ko ang birth certificate niya. Nakapangalan sa nanay. Pero ang tatay, blanco. Muli akong may nakitang baptismal naman. Ang nakalagay doon ay yung pangalan kong, pero sa dulo ng pangalan ko ay may nagkaroon ng problema. Imbis na letter D, ginawang CH. Gusto kong mangyari, kunin na talaga yung anak ko.